Thank you very much for having already calmed down after this brief intermission. The last speaker in the 2018 Munich Security Conference is the Foreign Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I'm very happy that he's made himself available. He spoke here last year, and it's very important, I think, not only from my own personal point of view, but also from the point of view of so many participants, that in this sequence where we've had speakers from various parts of the Middle East, including the Emir of Qatar, including the Prime Minister of Israel, and a number of other senior leaders, including, of course, just before the intermission, the Foreign Minister of Iran. It's important that we hear the views from Saudi Arabia. Mr. Foreign Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ambassador Shiga, for having me here this year once again. And I want to begin by talking about the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and then I will talk about the regional situation. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, as I mentioned 2 years ago when I first came to speak here, is embarked on major transformation through our Vision 2030. We are seeking to diversify our economy away from oil. We are seeking to open up new areas for investment. We are seeking to empower our youth. We're seeking to empower women. We are seeking to transform our country into a dynamic, innovative, transparent, accountable, efficient society. 70% of our population is under the age of 30. They have hopes, dreams, and ambitions, and our objective is to ensure that they can realize those hopes, dreams, and ambitions, and in the process lift our country to greater heights. In the past 2 years, we have made remarkable progress in terms of empowering youth, empowering women, in terms of opening up our economy, in terms of new legislation, in terms of attracting foreign investment, and in terms of reducing our income from oil and producing income from other areas. We are embarking on major initiatives in terms of NEOM, a futuristic city in the northwestern part of Saudi Arabia that will be a hub for technology, artificial intelligence, robotics, clean energy. We are embarking on other initiatives in terms of the Red Sea project. We are embarking on initiatives in terms of recreation and entertainment. And all of this is transforming the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And the reason this is happening is because as we move in this direction, we become stronger, we become wealthier, and we become less susceptible to the dangers and the crises around us in our region. You heard a few minutes ago from the Iranian foreign minister, and I'm glad to be able to respond to some of the fiction that he was talking about. The problems in our region began with the Khomeini revolution in 1979. Khomeini revolution unleashed sectarianism in the region. The Iranian constitution has enshrined in it the principle of exporting the revolution. The Iranian constitution does not recognize citizenship. It believes that every Shia, the dispossessed, as it calls them, belongs to Iran. This is outrageous. Is Iran prepared to amend its constitution to give up the principle of exporting the revolution and to recognize citizenship? I don't see them doing it. The Iranian Revolution led to the establishment of Hezbollah, which is today the world's most dangerous terrorist organization. Iran is innocent, according to the Foreign Minister of Iran, because everybody else is blaming them for their problems. Didn't Iran attack the American embassy in Beirut in 1981? Didn't Iran and its proxies attack the US Marines at Beirut International Airport, resulting in the death of 270 people? It's a fact. Didn't Iran commit terrorist acts in Europe, including here in Germany, and in Argentina, and in other places? Yes, they did. Is that something they can deny? Of course not. Didn't Iran train and manage the cell that attacked Khobar Towers in Saudi Arabia in 1996? Yes, they did. The ringleader was General Sharifi, Iran's military attaché in Bahrain. The three leaders of the plot escaped from Saudi Arabia and went to Iran, where they have been living ever since. The leader, Al-Mughassil, we captured 2 years ago in Lebanon. with an Iranian passport, even though he's a Saudi citizen. Isn't this harboring and sheltering terrorists? After the invasion of Iraq in 2003, or after the attacks against Afghanistan in 2001, Osama bin Laden's son and the virtual board of directors of Al-Qaeda fled from Afghanistan to Iran, where they have been living ever since. Saif al-Adel, the chief of operations for Al-Qaeda, was in Iran in 2003 when he gave the order to attack the 3 housing compounds in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. We have the phone conversation on tape. That's a fact. Iran has subsequently harbored and sheltered these individuals. Iran is providing more than 90% of the world's IEDs that are used to kill people in battlefields. Iran is supplying the Houthis with ballistic missiles that they use to attack Saudi cities as well as Yemeni cities. This is a fact. We didn't attack Iran. Iran is the one that's attacking us. Iran has sought to undermine Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Bahrain, Yemen, Pakistan, Afghanistan, including countries in Africa. This is a fact. So if Iran wants people to stop criticizing it, it has to change its behavior and comport itself with international law and international ethics and values. Talking about the security, a regional architecture for the Arabian Gulf, while sending missiles to the Houthis and sending terrorists to attack other countries and supplying weapons and explosives to terrorists in Bahrain, is a contradiction, with all due respect to the Iranians. So Iran has to understand that the reason it is subject to sanctions is because of its behavior, not because we don't like them. We like them. We have great respect for Iran, its history, its people, but we cannot afford to put up with the Khomeini revolution and its principles. The reason Iran is sanctioned for terrorism is because it supports terrorism. We didn't sanction them. The international community did. The reason Iran is sanctioned for violating ballistic missiles accords is because it does. And the reason Iran is sanctioned on human rights violations is because it does. So there has to be a fundamental change in the Iranian regime in order for Iran to be treated like a normal country. And that's what we're looking for. And so we will continue to push back against Iran in all areas we can with our allies in the Arab and Islamic world and in the West until Iran changes its behavior. We have no other choice. The idea that since 1979 we have extended our arm to Iran seeking friendship, and what we got was death and destruction. Iran attacked our embassies. Iran assassinated our diplomats in more than one location. Iran planted terrorist cells in my country. Iran tries to smuggle explosives and weapons into my country to kill my people. I would like to see one Iranian diplomat that Saudi Arabia did harm to. 0. Because we believe in rule of law. Because we believe in the principle of good neighborliness. Something Iran does not believe in. Anyway, so our region, having said that, I think the challenges that we face in terms of Syria, in terms of Yemen, in terms of Libya, are challenges that we will be able to overcome. Iraq has turned the corner and has gotten a lot of support from the international community for its reconstruction efforts. Iraq has defeated ISIS. The Abadi government deserves a lot of credit for this and for the way it managed its internal issues. We're very supportive of Iraq. We opened up a new chapter with Iraq. We have diplomatic relations. We have 2 consulates. We're opening up a 3rd consulate. We're starting commercial air traffic. It's already started between our 2 countries. We're opening up border crossings. Trade and investment is exploding. And we expect the relationship to further develop and strengthen in every area. Yemen, I think after the assassination of President Saleh, the Houthis are isolated. The Yemeni political parties are coming together to form one bloc, further isolating the Houthi. The legitimate government is making progress, gradual progress, but progress nonetheless in the battlefield. We have put together a massive humanitarian support package for Yemen with the United Arab Emirates. That's in excess of $1 billion. All the seaports are open, all the airports are open. We have land bridges, we have air bridges into Yemen, and we are working with dozens of international non-governmental organizations and UN organizations to ensure that these supplies get to the people who need them in Yemen. And I believe that, and we look forward to working with a new UN envoy for Yemen to see how we can launch a political process based on UN Security Council Resolution 2216, the GCC initiative, and the outcomes of the Yemeni National Dialogue so that we can move Yemen towards a new phase. We have put in place an office for the reconstruction of Yemen. We have allocated more than $10 billion to that office so that as soon as the fighting stops, we can embark on reconstruction of Yemen. So I believe in time, this issue will resolve itself. In Syria, we are working to move the political process based on Resolution 2254, the Geneva process, and we expect that pressure will be brought on the Assad regime to engage with the opposition in a serious manner so we can move Syria towards stability and then towards peace. In Libya, we're working with the UN envoy to try to bring all the political parties to one direction. There seems to be an agreement among the leaders in Libya as to what the roadmap should look like. And now the challenge is how do we get them all to move simultaneously towards that roadmap? And I'm hopeful that we will be able to achieve this. I look at our region and I see young people, I see technology, I see tremendous resources. And I think once the turbulence that our region is going through today is over, the region will be poised for a takeoff, I believe. It may take a little bit of time, but we have to be optimistic. I think we are connected to the world. We are strategically located in the midst of the world. We have youth, we have resources, and so we need to make sure that the policies that we adapt are policies that propel us forward. This is what we're trying to do in Saudi Arabia with our Vision 2030, and we're hoping that others can emulate it and we can move our region towards calm and prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Foreign Minister. As we collect a few questions, we have just a few minutes left for questions. Let me start by asking a question of my own. I remember that last year when you spoke, you expressed what I recall as a degree of optimism that peace in Syria was going to come about. What has happened to your optimism? You still maintain it?
Yes, of course, it's still there. You can't be a diplomat and a problem solver and be a pessimist. Then you should seek another profession. So we have to be optimistic. The timeline may have slipped, but Syria will resolve itself.
Questions? Question time. We don't have much time. Who is the first taker? Are there any written questions? Otherwise, I turn to the audience and look around. Here is one. Yes, please. Could you, I think you are the gentleman who prefers to speak in Arabic. Could you identify yourself? Yes.
I am Dr. Nasr al-Hariri, the head of the High Negotiation Committee for the Syrian delegation. Dr. Nasr al-Hariri, the chair of the Negotiation Syrian Committee. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you for all the efforts that you have made in order to push forward the political process in Syria, and also to open Riyadh 2 meetings to bring about closeness between the two parties. And now we know that there have been a lot of damages and a lot of losses that have been incurred by the intervention of the Syrians in the area. And also, I think there's a lot of meddling from Iran into many countries in the area. We see also that there are some processes that are taking place, but really they're more taking a backstage position rather than moving forward. Because we hope that there would be a new processes and new procedures in order to redress the situation in the area and put an end to what Iran is doing in the area. Thank you very much indeed.
Collect a few and go back to you. I have a second question here, please. And do identify yourself, please.
Ariel Cohen, the Atlantic Council, Washington, D.C. Mr. Foreign Minister, excellent speech. Thank you very much. My question is about the reports of the first clash between U.S. military and elements of the Russian presence in Syria. How seriously are you taking it? What are the consequences and what should be the pathways to prevent a major clash between the two nuclear powers in the Middle East? Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, with regard to the first question about what is being done about Iran, we are working with our allies in the GCC, we're working within the Arab world, we're working within the Islamic world to put pressure on Iran, to isolate Iran, to make it clear to Iran that its policies that it has pursued in the past are no longer acceptable. We are working with our allies in the West to do the same thing. We believe that the JCPOA has flaws that need to be fixed. We believe that the sunset provision needs to be eliminated. Iran cannot be allowed to have unlimited enrichment capabilities 8 years or so from today. We believe that the inspections regime has to be more intrusive and has to include non-declared and military sites so that it's effective. We also believe that the JCPOA alone does not fix Iran's negative and aggressive behavior. Iran needs to be held accountable for its violation of the ballistic missile resolutions. It cannot export ballistic missiles to militias that use it to target civilians. And Iran must be held accountable for its support for terrorism. So we believe that the world has to extract a price from Iran for its aggressive behavior, and that in time the Iranians will see the light and realize that their policies of the past must be abandoned in order for Iran to become a normal country in the international community. We are working on these areas. With regard to the question between the conflict or between the U.S. and Russian forces in Syria, I believe there's an agreement between the U.S. and Russia with regards to the de-escalation zones, and there's agreements between the two superpowers with regards to deconflicting their operations so that you don't have situations like this. I believe that American officials yesterday spoke to this issue here, and so I can't, as a Saudi foreign minister, add to something that involved technical military operations of the two superpowers. But I know that both countries are very, very keen on ensuring that there is no conflict between them, and they're very keen on ensuring that their ability to deconflict each other's operations is a top priority.
Here is a question which I really like. It's a question from a member of the German Bundestag, Omid Nouripur. He's a member of the Green Party. Where is he? Somewhere in the audience. Over there. I like this question, and you will understand why. What does it take to see you, Foreign Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, sharing a panel with the Foreign Minister of Iran in Munich Security Conference 2019?
In principle, nothing. We have shared platforms when we were at the International Support Group for Syria, the meetings that took place in Vienna, the meetings that took place in New York. It's not about sharing a platform. That's gimmicks. It's about changing policy. It's not about shaking hands. It's about not supplying weapons to terrorists. It's not about discussing things with the Iranian foreign minister. It's about them ceasing and desisting from threatening the lives of our people. That's what it's about. And that's what the Iranians don't seem to understand. Unless there's a split in their government, and there's part of the government that's talking about reaching out and accommodation, while another part goes off and tries to blow up our people. We want to see a fundamental change in Iran's behavior. We haven't seen it. When the nuclear talks began, we noticed an increase in Iran's nefarious activities, not a decrease. After the nuclear agreement was signed, we noticed another increase in Iran's nefarious activities, not a decrease. So this idealistic thinking that if we sign an agreement with Iran, Iran will change and become a nice country, turned out to be fiction. The Iranians doubled down when the talks began, and they doubled down again when the agreement was reached. We haven't seen a change in behavior. Can anyone here show me one economic project that Iran invested in after the signing of the deal? Can you show me one hospital that was built, one road that was extended, one university that was built? I haven't seen anything, but I've seen Iran increase its troops and its support for Hezbollah and its forces in Syria and its support for the Houthis in Yemen. Is that where the funding that they have gotten as a result of the JCPOA has gone? It needs to be reversed. Iran needs to take care of its people. That's why in early January you had these riots all across Iran. The Iranian people want a better standard of living. They want to have a normal country. They want to have an accountable, transparent, efficient government. That's not what they have now. They have a government that's focused on exporting the revolution, supporting terrorists, squandering Iran's resources for foreign adventures, rather than to improve the lot of their people, who are most deserving of those resources.
Thank you very much, Mr. Foreign Minister. Thank you. Thanks for the questions. Let's give a hand of applause. And let me thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.